Hello, friends. We are here today to discuss chapters 37 through 46 of Beyond Redemption, which is like, well, the whole book, really. We're just going to be talking about the whole book. And the intro music today is from Michael R. Fletcher from his YouTube channel. So I'll be sure and link that down below. So if you're curious, that's the new intro music is by Michael R. Fletcher. So I thought that was pretty neat. He gave us permission to use it for the podcast. So thank you, Fletcher, for doing that. We won't say anything bad about you on the recording. We'll wait till after. So to start off, Dan, will you give us an introduction?
Yeah, I'm Dan. First time reading Manifest Destiny Delusions. What am I thinking about? Yeah, first time reading Manifest Delusions series. And yeah, been interesting up to now.
Yeah, I can say that. And Varsha.
Hi, my name is Varsha. I run a tiny YouTube channel called Reading by the Rainy Mountain, and most recently also a podcast called Bright Threads in the Tapestry.
Very nice. Yes, very good stuff. And I'll be sure and link that down below too. Everybody should go check that out.
Cool.
Really
Thank
wonderful stuff. Should be proud of it. It's really good. Yeah.
Thank you.
So, lots happened. I think lots happened in the last little bit.
Yeah.
Pretty major
Yeah.
events.
A lot.
So what did both of you think? What stands out? Varsha, what stands out for you?
I giggled there a bit because I remembered what Stellan does to the slaver when he arrives in the after death. I love that within 2 seconds she's just sending him off to the next dread. That was hilarious. That was my favorite part. But also I think I'm super intrigued by mirrors now. I want to know all about how the mirrorist delusion works, because that seems to be what all of the threads sort of converged on some sort of mirror manipulation. That, yeah.
Yes. Yeah, the mirror stuff, it got a little... I had to reread a couple of them because I was like, what? What? But Dan, what did you think? What do you...
I think those were my favorite parts, like all the scheming of the doppelgangers and the mirrors and everything. It was like, oh, you're not betraying me, I'm betraying you. But wait, no, you're also being betrayed by second level delusion, which turns out was not a second level delusion. It was pretty funny reading it.
Yeah.
And I was like, where is this gonna end? Who's actually gonna win this? Because we went through so many different steps to end up where we are, and probably not finished now, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and the rest was also interesting. I can see why, like, the ending, you didn't remember the ending, Steve, because it's not like a cliffhanger or anything. It's just like a setup for the next book.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, I wasn't sure if I was expecting something more dramatic. But since this is probably just the first one that's just setting up the rest of the trilogy, I think it makes sense. Right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Because I think we sort of got what we expected, sort of. Right? We were sort of expecting that he's going to ascend. We didn't know exactly how it's going to be. We were not exactly sure. I was not right. I was close, but not exactly right. And we knew they were going to die, and we didn't know exactly how it was going to go, but, it was set up before how it ended, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I didn't...
And I suppose
I'm sorry, Varsha, go ahead.
I was going to start a new topic, Steve. So
Oh,
go
no, I
ahead.
was going to say, I didn't expect Morgan to ascend the way he did. I guess I'll say that. I guess it's not too much of a surprise but the steps that he took to get there, just being tortured, beaten to the edge of death. That was pretty brutal.
Yeah, that was pretty dark, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't sure why he didn't use his powers to protect himself, right?
Yeah, I did wonder about that. He could heal the others. Did it not extend to himself? Could he not heal himself? Did we see any of the deluded or insane heal themselves. We didn't see any other healers, right? Yeah.
I kind of wondered if he was just ready. Because he had been corrupted and he knew that he had to ascend. So maybe that's kind of the way I took it, is that he was just ready to go. Like he just didn't want to heal himself because he was dirty and he kind of like lost hope. Like he was like, I'm ready to go. Like just a matter of he had to go the right way, the way that he could, ascend, I guess.
Yeah, I think you're right, because he says right in the middle when the slaver asks him, "Oh, do you want me to tell them to stop?" And he's like, I don't remember exactly what he says, but he thought then he was going to get burned and die that way instead of being hit again. So I think you're right. Yeah, he just wanted to die by being burned because that's what he saw in the future, right?
Yeah. But I also got the impression he kind of thought that he would be as pure as he needs to be, as he thought he needs to be, when the flames come. Because if I remember correctly, at some point when he was being tortured, he thinks to himself that he cannot ascend now because he's been hurt so much, he's so corrupted. So, and he also had that conviction. I think it was pretty much the last chapter that we read last time, in which he was thinking to himself that he must not ascend now. So I was wondering if he still had that conviction that he shouldn't die or shouldn't ascend just that moment. So yeah, it's interesting though. That is an interesting perspective, that he's sort of ready to give up and go now. Even after he ascends, he has thoughts about how corrupted he is and what type of god he would make, right? So, yeah. And that is an interesting angle.
Yeah, and because I think sort of, didn't he not change his mind, but in like this last section, he went from, I'm feeling all these emotions, so I shouldn't become a god, to sort of like, well, now I'm angry, fuck it, I'm just gonna stand and, be, try to make things the way I want them to be, right?
Yeah. I thought that happened after he ascended.
Yeah, I thought it was like happening throughout, sort of. Like he was sort of accepting more his emotions, I guess, his negative emotions, it felt to me.
Okay. Yeah, it makes sense, I suppose. Maybe I missed that. What I remember most is from after his ascension, what you said, that I'm going to shape the world now how I want, go send out all the people from the name of the city, I don't know, the one that starts with an S, and basically spread the religion now so that I can expand myself here further. I remember all of that, but the transition, perhaps you're right, that it was happening as he was being tortured, and he's like, they should have told me more, they should have given me more knowledge instead of keeping me closeted like that, so.
Yeah, because I guess at the end he's more like, because I think I remember at the beginning of the book when he was thinking that, he would be at the service of the followers, sort of, and now he's like, no, they now need to serve me.
Yeah.
So
it sounds horrible.
No,
Sorry,
go
go
ahead.
ahead. I was going to say it sounds horrible to put it this way, but I'm also excited for the religious wars that are to come.
I think there's a question throughout the book about whether we create the gods or do the gods create us. But I think they created Morgan, what he ended up being, because he was corrupted and they soiled him and beat him, and they wanted him to be something, but he became something else because of what he went through. So in a sense, I guess we created, or they created him. He didn't create us or them, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He was shaped by humans, in the same way, I suppose we can argue that the gods of our world are, but not necessarily. But I think it was very interesting that what shaping they wanted to do, they failed at, but he is still a product of the humans of this world and their behavior towards him.
Yeah. I guess it makes sense given how people treat other people in this world. And yeah, it's unfortunate because like it seemed like in then like if he had ascended the way it was originally planned, it would probably have been better for humanity. Probably, I feel he would have been more innocent, but it would have been probably kinder. I would have assumed. I guess he would have been under. He would have been controlled. I don't know how it would have ended up. But.
If he had ascended the way they had originally planned, it would have been by being killed by Koenig, right?
Yeah.
And he is so deluded. His delusions have delusions, and they have delusions. So
yeah, but in the end, we haven't seen Koenig do like, how do I say? He's not really doing his final outcome. He's not like doing evil stuff to like the religious followers and everything. Like we've been told, like, oh, his city is beautiful. There's lush green, and people are happier than all the other cities, right? So it doesn't seem like a masterful evil plan to make all of the cities like that. I guess.
That's true.
He is doing it also for his own, gain, because he doesn't want to go insane and he wants to be powerful and everything. But considering everyone else in this world, it doesn't seem like the worst thing,
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now you put it like that, I think that may have been a better world. It is interesting though, but Morgan wants cleanliness all around, but it maybe it's sort of similar to the goal that Koenig might have had, because like he sort of cleaned up the city that they were headquartered in, right? But maybe their approaches will differ. Maybe Morgan will get there through the use of force, perhaps. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what that world looks like, how different it would be.
Yeah, I don't know, but I think Morgan's idea of cleanliness is more like sterile than nice and clean.
He's
I don't know.
A level above tidy, like a few levels above, just like neat.
Yeah, so I could see that going in the wrong direction, possibly.
Yeah.
Or him not being very, very not comprehensive, like comprehending God, I guess, being very strict and very rigid and very, you follow or you just get erased. Everything's very rigid and organized and whatever. That's how I'm imagining it, but who knows? I mean, I've not been right up to now, so.
Yeah.
Were you surprised when Morgan killed, I can't pronounce the names, Stalin? Well, I guess he didn't kill her, but he...
A little bit.
Yeah. Close enough. Yeah.
He did... I forget how that interaction went down. Was it that Stalin tried to kill Morgan and then Morgan stabbed her back? Would he have killed her if she hadn't gone for him?
I think so. I think he... Well, I don't know. Would he have deliberately... I don't know. Good question.
I mean, I think if he didn't run towards him, then I don't think he was going away, right? So... I don't think he cared. I think he wanted to kill the swordsman because he had been manipulating him, but it seems he actually, she's sort of like the other two, right? But, I don't know.
Yeah, I wonder what the reflections, motivations were to lead him where they did. I feel like, what is the relationship between their ascension and Morgan's ascension? Because if they ascended with him, would that not have been true regardless of how he ascended or when? Why did they guide him through this whole terrible path?
Do you mean like for Morgan's reflections in like the fire?
Yeah,
Thinking of the
yeah,
fire, right? Yeah.
yeah. So the realization he has just before he dies, that the fire, what he saw in the fire, he thought that the future, that was future written in stone, and so he took actions to bring about that future. But then he realizes that that wasn't true. It was just he was just being shown one possible future, and that he was manipulated by his reflections. And then he says, "Oh, they are going to ascend with me," and that was it. I guess the implication there was that the reflections wanted to ascend with him, and that's why they brought about they manipulated him into the events as they unraveled. But it wasn't. Yeah, I'd be interested in like what would have happened to the mirror images if he had died any other way. Like, why do they need to manipulate him this way? The next book is called
Yeah.
Mirror's Truth, so maybe we'll find out.
Yeah, I didn't get that. I didn't realize that his reflections were, how do I say, personified or something, where had agency or something. I didn't realize that part. I think I missed it. But I think what is shown by reflections of a future is true, but I think he just interpreted it wrong, right? Because did we see? Did it say that he saw himself dying in the fire, or did we just see like he saw a lot of fire, and it was implied that he was gonna die from it?
I know for sure he saw a lot of fire, and I think it was implied at various points that he saw some things happening in the fire. Example, he knew Bedecked was going to be there when the fire came. But I don't know, I don't remember reading if he thinks about what would happen to him in the fire.
Because maybe he jumped to the wrong conclusion, right? Because you cannot see your own future, so maybe he just jumped to the wrong conclusion about it.
I see.
Maybe.
Okay.
Because we haven't, everything else, it's been true, right? That we've seen in the future. But I guess it is, like you said, that he made it so that it was true.
On the paperback 474, beginning of chapter 46, Morgan screamed in his reflections, laughed and pranced and frolicked in his misery, for they too had ascended alongside him. Thus he realized he had always been their plan. They hadn't served him or shown glimpses of the future as a means of guidance. No, they'd led him by nose to this moment. They'd manipulated his every choice. But why, though?
Yeah, I think I forgot that.
Yeah. Even his murder of Victic, for instance, I think was a result of the mirror's manipulation, it sounded like. So he didn't have to kill them. If he had... The impression I got through this passage that Steve just read was that Morgan was free to make different choices. And I think that was always true. He kept doing at each point what the future had showed him. So it was the future manipulating the current events, or his vision of the future manipulating the events. If at any point he had made a different decision, I think we would have a different future. But he didn't exercise his free will because, like, yeah, this is what the mirror's showing me I need to do. But that means that he was happy with the conclusion of the way he'd die. But he wasn't. So maybe something changed in the events, or he was... There was also an implication sometime, I think it was Morgan is briefly afraid that he's being shown all these images, but he doesn't know who's showing them, and he's worried that they're only showing him what they want him to see, whoever they is. So, yeah, maybe the mirror images manipulated out what would happen to him at the hands of the slaver. That's a possibility as well. But then the question remains why.
Yeah. But I guess that it must, it can't all be manipulation because, if you tell me right now, let's say I am the mirror image and I'm trying to make you do something in the future, I can't predict what's going to happen in the future, right? So there must be some foundation of, or maybe like this is the most probable thing that's going to happen or something, right?
Is it that the mirrors have access to different futures and they can show you those possible futures? But then you decide, or maybe they should, yeah, what you said, maybe it's the highest probability one, but there is also a potential element of manipulation that they can do to get you to take action to make one of the higher probability futures come about.
Maybe.
Yeah, it's
I think I just twisted myself into 5 knots.
no, my brain is too. No, but which was kind of scary because Morgan depended on the fire, and he wasn't really worried because he thought, this isn't how I die. I'm not. But just looking back on it, it's like it was kind of close. Like,
Yeah.
Or it could just be that there's no actual, reason for these things, or there's like logical fallacies because the authors didn't think about it because it's not real.
yeah,
Obviously, we always try to justify within universe, but sometimes in certain books it's just like, well, just didn't think about it.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's the case, but who knows?
yeah.
Especially with something so complicated such as this. It's like making everything work consistently and thinking of it must be so hard to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess, yeah, like you said, we're probably going to get a lot more answers in the next book, I think.
What did you guys think of when the reflection jumped in Trepidation's ear?
That was fantastic. Possibly one of my favorite moments in the book.
Yeah. So, what was the actual chain of betrayal that Koenig went through? Because it was acceptance first, right? That was the first one, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then he was trying to get betrayed by both Trepidation and the mirror images at the same time.
Trepidation and the mirror images. Acceptance, you mean, or Koenig?
I'm
I guess we need like a flow chart.
No, because I think Trepidation was first trying to betray Acceptance, and then he was going to manipulate Koenig, I think.
Yeah.
He was going to do one step at a time, right?
Yeah, he's working his way up.
While the mirror images were manipulating everyone at the same time, I guess, or they had a grand plan.
The mirror images won that one.
For now.
Acceptance to Koenig. Trepidation to Acceptance? Did Trepidation just get frustrated with Acceptance and his bossiness, or was he planning something all along? I forget.
I think that reflections encouraged him to take care of Acceptance because he knew that they were going to betray him. That Trepidation would be betrayed by Acceptance because Acceptance had a plan that didn't include Trepidation. I'm trying to keep this straight.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of the way I read it. But
Could you remind me why did Acceptance kill who the average two doppels were?
yeah, he killed.
Because there's 4 of them, right?
He killed
at the beginning.
He pushed one of them in the mirror, right? Or one of them was absorbed by the mirror. Was that abandonment?
Yes.
Right.
But
Yes,
that was the one which
abandonment.
was initially the one plotting then, right?
I think so.
And then Acceptance betrayed him,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, because they beat him because Acceptance tried to pull off the coup, right? And then that failed. And they beat him up and they broke his teeth and smashed him up pretty good.
Yeah, then he got. Yeah, okay. Okay, now I'm remembering. Yeah, it was a bit complicated. But it was also funny at the end that, like, Koenig, when he became the mirror image, he was like, now I can see. So you're sort of, you lost, but now you have an advantage, right? So it's very much like maybe you just need to make your move when you're 100% sure that other people are, the people you defeat are not going to be able to come back. Because in every case, right, even if the Doppels won or the Mirrors won, they don't win by killing the other, because obviously they're part of themselves. They win by replacing. So I guess you can always be replaced back.
Yeah. So, Steve, I remember we were discussing last week about if you kill the original, do the reflections and the Doppels all die? I think at some point in this book, they were talking about killing the real Koenig, not just getting rid of him by shoving him into a mirror or something. They were actually talking about killing the real Koenig. So does that mean that all of these delusions can live on without the original? Or is it a product of how powerful the deluded person is?
The way I took it was okay. So the way I took it was that the Doppels, like acceptance and trepidation, began having their own reflections. So I think they were kind of independent of Koenig. So if they could kill Koenig as a way, or at least push him into the mirror world, and then they were developing their own delusions, or they were, So it was like layers.
But they only thought they were all Koenig. So did that change their assumption, or is this also one of those things that if you believe that it's this way, then it's true?
Could be, yeah. Could be, because we do get some of that, like with Morgan, that he needs people to believe a certain thing for him to achieve his goals. So belief plays into it too.
Yeah, and I'm also kind of wondering maybe if once they substitute them, they start becoming, now that they're switched, or like let's say Trepidation switched with Koenig and he became the one. Then slowly Koenig would become a doppel of some sort, and Trepidation would morph more into a full Koenig, I wonder.
They didn't name Koenig in the end. They named him Failure, as if he were one of the Doppels, right?
That's what made me think about that.
Yeah. I think somewhere early on in the book, they said, I think it was in Koenig's musings about how powerful his delusions were becoming. And he was thinking to himself, if I remember correctly, that he'd become one of the Doppels and one of the Koenigs would become the original. But then the definition of original is kind of TBD, because would they have characteristics of the Doppel that became the original, or like you asked, Dan, would they become the real Koenig? And yeah.
I think it's similar to when you think about if you have two clones, right, and you kill one of them, does he actually still die, or is the other person just the same because they have the same experiences and memories and everything, so he doesn't actually die? What defines a person? What defines a person in this world and in our world, right?
Yeah.
Where's the consciousness, the central consciousness? Where is it?
That's true. Yeah. Morgan's mirror images apparently escaped into the afterdeath and will probably become their own gods now. So are they several gods or a single god with a divided consciousness, like you said? Yeah.
I don't know.
It's pretty wild.
I don't know.
Let's sing some nursery rhymes to make up for that.
Yeah.
I was trying to find the Koenig chapter's epigraph because I thought that was really funny. The one where he gets... Oh, this one was funny. Chapter 45's epigraph. What I want to know is what happens when you are killed in the after death. Is there an after death? How long does this go on? Who dreamed this insanity? This made me laugh because this was the exact question you asked last week.
I mean, I guess you can get killed in the after death, so it would seem bad. I don't know. Maybe you just return to the normal world.
Well, the way that I kind of, because Stalin kills the slaver, right? So I think when Stalin dies in the first after death, then in the second after death, and the slaver is hers. That right? Because it's kind of like there's like layers, almost like. So I'm going to try not to twist myself up here, but I kind of wonder if the world that we start in is already an after death. And we're just... but I don't know.
Could be.
I don't know.
Interesting.
But we do know that people in the after death remember their previous life, right? And these guys don't.
Oh, that's true.
But I don't know if it's the same in every case.
That's true. Yeah, that is true.
Maybe this is just assuming that every layer of after death is exactly the same or analogous to the previous one, which we don't know. But that means that the more you go into after death, the more people are going to be clumped together because of the whole who you kill becomes your master, or who you kill becomes your slave. So it means that every level you go, there's going to be less masters and more slaves. Up until at some point there's going to just be one guy or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
can you die of old age in the after death?
You would think.
Sorry.
You would think that having the slaver as your slave would be good, because then you would inherit all of the people that the slaver killed too, right? So that would be a pretty big haul. So the more people someone kills, the more advantageous it would be to kill them, because then they would serve you, and everyone they killed would serve you too, right? Or am I? So.
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest, though, like
even in the first year. Sorry, go ahead.
What's the advantage of having a bunch of people serve you? To be honest.
Yeah.
That's true.
That's a great question.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, the slave is actually a great example of that. Like, sure, he's deluding himself that he's loved, but like, what are they doing for him, or he doing for all the people who are following him mindlessly, right?
Well, yeah. Yes.
Yeah. In the end, the moral of all these stories is that people forget about, looking for happiness. Try to get power, but they don't. Same for Berserk and everything.
Yeah. It's true.
Yeah. Happiness in exchange for power.
Yeah. I mean, I'd just rather be probably a normal farmer in a nice town in this world than any of these people. Even if they win or not, it doesn't seem, I don't know, worth it for whatever final goal they're trying to achieve.
Yeah,
you still don't know.
It seems like it'd be a lot more peaceful just to live your life quietly in this world than to be around too many people. Just
like how it seems the three guys, our three main protagonists in band, it's like, what the fuck are they doing? Like, they could have probably just, lived a normal life, a normal peaceful life, and it would be more happy than whatever sort of weird, emotional, like Mexican standoff they were doing.
Yeah. I love that characterization.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Emotional Mexican style.
Yeah, because they were all like, sort of like, oh, I hate you. But then Morgan is like, no, you kind of all like each other. But they're like, no, that's not true. To whose benefit is this?
But can you really live aloof here? Because, if you're just someone living in one of these towns and then a slaver comes along and pulls you up into his crowd, I suppose you can try, but it feels like you'll get caught up in the delusions of one of the insane. So maybe you want to stay ahead of the curve and be the one that's doing the enslaving.
I think based on like context clues, it seems to me that these whatever the delusionists, they're not that common. It seems like we've seen a lot of them because that's the story, but it doesn't seem like they're that common from how people describe them and how people react to them, I guess.
Mm.
You know?
Yeah. And not all of them also are aware of what types of delusions there are, because the scientist and Gehi and the Hassebrand are aware, and so probably Morgan also. But I remember Bedekt had to stop Stellan and Victig from going into the middle of the slavers crowd. He had seen crowds like that before. So yeah, I think you're right. Maybe even like the deluded aren't familiar with all the delusions there are.
Yeah. And I guess it's probably like a spectrum of going from no delusions to full on insane. So probably a lot of people have very minor ones
Yeah.
that you don't even notice it. You're like, oh, it's just a character trait or something. Right? Maybe.
So Bedekt, when he went into the slavers camp, I think I highlighted it. He wasn't pulled into the sort of, what is that? The slavers
cloud of influence.
center. Yeah, cloud of influence. I like that. Because they, because what, he was so sane that he couldn't be influenced. Something that's what they said, right? I'm trying to pull up my highlight here, but yeah, that was interesting. I wanted to discuss that.
So the way I read that was that he was so determined. He was so determined to get to Morgan that. Did he have his own delusion that he just wouldn't be influenced? Because at first I wondered if the slaver was just distracted with Morgan and he wasn't or the slaver wasn't paying attention, or was Bedekt just so determined that he started to have delusions of his own that he couldn't be influenced.
It says the slaver's power was nothing compared to his rage. It wasn't delusion, but something more than that. A belief in himself based on experience and pride and fear and all the things that make a sane person able to cope in this mad world. He had one purpose and one purpose alone. He stepped past the Hasselbrand, and it goes on to action there. But yeah, that's the part that tells us why he wasn't pulled into the flux.
I mean, we've seen this before, Bo, right? Because he's had a bunch of discussions with Victig about, him being the best swordsman and stuff like that. And he's like, I don't know if you are, or something like that. So we've seen him being skeptic before, right?
Yeah.
And not influenced by, I guess, Victig's power. And I mean, if he's not deluded, I don't know.
Yeah. Is it a delusion that he can't be deluded?
It is. Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to remember. Is it a comic or a manga or something where it's like, oh, everyone has superpowers, and the main protagonist's superpower is not having superpowers while everyone else has them, pretty much. Something like that. Or he's able to negate other people's superpowers or something like that.
That sounds cool.
Maybe that's what he has. He negates the delusions towards himself.
There was a Pixar film that had that concept, I think.
Maybe.
I forget what it was called. But...
You might be right, yeah. But yeah, maybe he's just so convinced that he's sane that it becomes its own delusion, right? Like they said, right? And it makes him impossible to become corrupted or whatever. Maybe.
Yeah. So that's interesting, and that makes me think about the use of the word delusion to define the things that happen in the world, because delusion by definition is something you think that something is true when it's not, but you're sort of making it true, so it's no longer a delusion anymore, right?
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Trying to think. I wonder if this is gonna come back. There's actually gonna be in the last book something like explaining why it's called delusions or something like that.
It was all a dream.
Oh no.
Could very well. It was all a dream of the gods or something. Something like that. It could very well be.
It was someone seeing a reflection of a possible future.
Yeah.
What I want is an author to write a 15-book series, each 700 pages long, at the end of which they tell us it was all a dream.
Oh my god, man.
Oh yeah, and the next. Oh no, that's actually a great idea. Each book finishes with like a guy waking up. It's like, oh, it's a dream, and the next book is the story of that guy that wakes up. And it ends with the author waking up. It's like, oh, that's a great idea for a book.
Go real meta.
I should write it.
You should write that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should.
When I learn to write, yeah.
Use a pen name though, because they'll be after you.
Yeah. You're gonna get killed.
No, it's a totally original idea. No connection to featuring discussions or anything.
They'll be after you.
But yeah, I don't know. Not sure how that's gonna end up being. But yeah, like they're more like more than delusions. They're like insanities, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
insane.
I think they're more characterized as the insane than deluded. That
I guess that would have been a good title too. Manifest Insanities.
Yeah.
It's like the name of a metal band or something.
That would be a good one.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, which other parts did we have in this last section? Or did we discuss all of them? Because I guess the point of view coalesced a bit, I guess. Like Morgan's and the adventurers became the same. And
I think
yeah.
the three of them meeting in the after death was kind of neat.
yeah.
But I think one of the more interesting part, and there's not a whole lot of time devoted to it, but when Morgan ascends, he's looking for the old gods, and there's no one there.
Yeah. Do you think they're gonna come up at some point?
I would think so, but it was kind of weird for him to see, because had they totally abandoned this world?
Yeah. So is Morgan in the same dimension, I don't know how to call it, as like the after death, or is it a completely different one? I wasn't sure about that.
I want to say it's different. I'm just not sure how. That it's not, because so he didn't end up being a slave to Bedecked because Bedecked like released him, I guess? Is that because he did end up being a slave in the after
Did
death?
he actually though?
I thought the last page was Morgan being pulled back into the after death because here. And then he felt the pull, the need to return to the after death. A man there demanded Morgan's presence, and he had no choice but to answer. That has to be Bedecked,
okay.
right?
Yeah. So I guess they must all be in the same after death, I guess.
It felt like he was sort of expanded somehow, that he was not in the after death, just based on the language here, the need to return to the after death.
Yeah, like he was in the after death. I interpreted that he went to the after death and then he sort of astral planed into the real world from there, and then he returned back.
Yeah. I think he has some sort of presence in the after death, but he's not restricted to just being there like the others are.
Yeah.
Because he did go kind
What do you
of
think?
get his team,
Yeah, go
right?
ahead.
He did. So, yeah.
Sure. But yeah, I was a bit let down about the ascension. I was expecting there to be some sort of surprise, but it went exactly as planned. You know, just like everyone thought it would happen. It's the same reason why I saw slightly let down by the people dying going to after death, because I assumed there would be something more, something unexpected. But there's still time, I guess.
What was unexpected for me is I didn't expect this to be the beginnings of a holy war. I didn't see that coming at all, and how. That was very interesting. I thought it's really setting up for the next pieces of action in the series, and for good reason too, right? Like, it's justified how that's coming about. It's not just, oh, I want a war in a fantasy book, so let's add one.
Yeah. I wonder if there's going to be any focus on the war, or it's all going to be like character focused.
You want me to guess based on the name of the third book? It's called The War to End All.
Yeah, but it could just be seen as, we just see the point of view of the protagonist. We don't see, the overarching, like you're looking from the sky of the battles and the map and the campaign strategy,
I see what you mean. Yeah. It'd be interesting to see how that plays out. And I wonder if we'll get to see more of the world, like besides just this religion, because, it is going to be a holy war. And what you said, more of the gods as well.
Yeah. Maybe they're going to get their own armies. Maybe the other gods are going to get their own armies, the old gods. Or maybe some of the other communities are going to try to make their own god, but since they're doing it quickly, they're going to do a botched job and it's going to end up badly. Could be a plot line, could not be.
Yeah. I wonder what the time scale of the war would be. Would it span a few years, like for quick returns, or will it be, we are talking about God, so there's no rush. It doesn't have to happen in a few weeks or months or whatever some typical timelines are we see in these books, but it'd be nice if it spans like centuries.
I guess we don't know how big the world is either, so it could be infinite for all we know. Technically could be.
Could be.
Yeah, I guess we've only like literally heard the name of 4 cities, I think, this whole book. Actually.
Yeah, I think there's like
something like that.
Like 2 or 3 like small villages, but that was it. Nothing. It was just really small. So yeah, but only like major cities, like 2 or 3. Yeah, or 4.
Yeah. And I don't know. Did we hear the name of any like big nations? Sort of. It seemed like the ones we heard were like, I guess, city-states at most.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Not very
and all
centralized.
Accessible within a few days. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Interested in seeing what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really wanted to get on to the next book because I was curious about the mirrors, so I am definitely interested in reading more.
Yeah, so it looks like that one is how many pages? 370
390-ish,
or
I thought. Yeah.
370. Yeah.
Yeah. When's the last book coming out?
I have an arc for it. I think it's September, but I know if I think it's sometime in September, but I know we can talk off air, but I'm sure Fletcher would help us out with that.
I think the Kindle pre-order date is September 18th.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Are we meeting next week, or are you traveling,
No,
Steve?
I'll be
and
back.
We'll take a break.
Yeah,
and
I'll be back.
Okay,
Unless you guys
cool.
need a break.
Yeah. I'm okay.
Dan, did you want to breathe?
I'm good.
Good.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know if we wanted to schedule it so that we sort of had equal time, put it in the middle between when the last one comes out, so it doesn't feel like there's a big gap in between, or I don't know.
Yeah. If we
Up to you guys.
start on It will say about 4 discussions for the third book.
Yeah, we do that.
That's
About a month.
1, 2, 3, 4. So if we start on the 21st, we finish on the 11th. And then we can start the third book the day it comes out.
Nice.
Well, I guess a week after because we have to get
Yeah.
our hands on it.
Yeah, we can. I'm sure we could talk to
Oh.
Fletcher about it.
Okay.
No? You want to do it like that, then?
Well, how many chapters do you think for next week?
What's the 100 page?
We could do 1 through 9, which would be 99 pages, or 1 through 8 is 99, or 1 through 9 is 104.
Okay. Well, if it's 300, did you say 377 pages? Should be roughly 88 pages.
380,
or something. whatever.
367. So
Okay, so like roughly 80 pages is 1/4.
yeah, so we could do 1 through 7 is 86.
Okay, yeah, that works.
Yeah.
Okay, 1 through 7. I better write that down. So, anybody following along, 1 through 7 for next week?
Oh, nice.
Well, cool. Any predictions from either of you? I don't want to say. I don't really remember, but I don't want to let anything slip. But what do you guys think?
I don't know. I want my prediction of someone making a twisted god to try to oppose Morgan. I'd like that to happen. I don't know if it's going to happen. And I don't know. I think Koenig is going to do some weird scheming in the mirrors and discover something. Yeah, I think he's going to have an important part still. He's going to plot against Morgan, I think, from the mirror, while his other copy, which became him, does his bidding. I think something like that.
Nice. Harsha, any predictions?
I guess. Oh, I'll piggyback off of part of Dan's prediction. I think one of Morgan's mirror image or reflections might become one of the opposing gods that they have to fight in the war. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
I like that. Yes. So we will find out next week. So until then, Dan, where can people find you?
Patreon forum, the Infire 17. I might respond to you or not. Who knows?
Harsha.
My YouTube channel, Reading by the Rainy Mountain, the About page has ways to reach me, and I also spend an enormous amount of time on the Patreon forum.
It's been bad. It's been bad lately. Yeah, I've been doing all kinds of stuff. But so cool. Yeah, we'll have to figure out dates. But yeah, we'll butt up right to the release of the third book. It should line up pretty well. So until then, we'll see everyone then.